Thank you for coming down.
Thank you. Thanks
So
for having
you're a
me.
professional photographer.
That I am.
I'd like to know a lot about that. That means you have your own business?
Yes.
What's the name?
Greenlight Design Studio. It encompasses photography, graphic design, and web development.
Oh, so it's more than just photography, but
Yes.
they feed to each other. They work.
Absolutely. They are total tandem businesses because I apply the photography to the graphic design as well as the imagery for websites.
So, and indeed, websites really require good photography. Everything requires good photography.
It's what engages the user. Without good imagery, it's just, you're going to go right past it.
It's the window into the subject for sure.
I agree.
And you can't operate without it. So tell me, how did you get involved in photography in the first place in your young life?
Originally, my grandfather was pretty much an avid amateur photographer. He carried a camera with him everywhere we went, and actually I spent a lot of time with him as a kid. Just whenever I could, he'd come down, pick me up, we'd go for a ride and go take pictures like that down at the train station. Any place that had interesting scenery.
It's a great family thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great fun. It was nice to be able to share that with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, every time we went somewhere, he was taking pictures, and he was giving me the camera and explaining as best as he could to a child. And yeah, it was just, I had the love of it from early on.
God, it's like there was a photograph in the I think it was the New York Times over the weekend where did I see this, of a father showing a young child, we're talking about a year old maybe, a sunset.
Oh,
and
nice.
The two of them are looking into the sunset, and the child is all wide-eyed about the sunset. And so it's that sharing thing that appeals to me about what you're saying, because as he was observing things, he was showing you how to observe them, like the sunset.
Yeah, and it engages you. It's emotional. That's what a good photograph will do. It'll pull you in and just make you think about it.
Yeah. So you began thinking about it when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And seeing the world around you in a different way, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Through the lens and in that frame.
Yeah, that's what distinguishes a photographer, professional, or an art photographer from everyone else. That you see the world. You're always ready to document something.
Yeah, you'd always like to have a camera on you to. Unfortunately, I don't carry one with me everywhere now because you do it for a living. Sometimes you need a little bit of a break from it, but then again, with smartphone technology,
sure.
I take pictures with my iPhone, and they're actually taking HDR photographs these days on that camera, on that phone. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I mean, when Stieglitz was taking his photographs back when, there weren't that many people with cameras.
Right.
And there weren't that many people who went to the trouble of taking pictures. And now, we're surrounded with photography. It's everywhere, not only in the graphic visibility, but in people carrying around devices.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has a camera.
Everybody has. You can't go anywhere without somebody seeing a flash going off somewhere. But yeah, and you're right. It didn't used to be that way.
So doesn't that give you a complex?
Not so much, because there's a difference between the just quick point and shoot and someone who actually puts deep thought into the shot before they even press the trigger.
So tell me about the deep thought. What is the deep thought that you put in? How do you approach the issue? Walk in a room. You're going to take a picture, for example, of somebody sitting at this table.
Well,
what goes through your mind?
Sitting at this table. Let me see. First thing is just check out all the angles to work with, and here we have lighting, we have a camera, and so I would actually incorporate those so it would give the whole feeling of the scene that it is. There's it's a studio and kind of a behind the scenes way about it, because just like photo against a screen would just be blah. So you have to have foreground items, sharp or soft focus. I mean, there's so many different ways.
Think out of the box.
Exactly, and just get a picture in your head and see if you can make it happen.
Can you always make it happen? I mean, are there times when you have a picture in your head and you try to achieve that and you can't?
Sometimes I mean, when you're doing, when you're dealing with areas or scenes that you really cannot control the light and actually the subject matter too, because you picture a person to be able to do one thing and sometimes they just don't have that look, and it doesn't, because someone, the way they look in person, isn't really the way they translate on film, whether it's on TV or photographs.
Yeah.
Some people are like, you wouldn't even recognize them.
Can't have it all the time. Well, it's the old thing about trying to capture the person's essence, and you probably when you see the person. I mean, I think people can do this. They can see the person's essence, but then capturing it is another thing entirely.
Absolutely. The subject has to be comfortable. They have to be comfortable with being in front of a camera, and because really the camera will feel that out, and you will see it. You will see like just tension. You won't need a nice, relaxed subject.
So how do you do that? I mean, how do you get somebody to relax?
Conversation. Just loosen them up. I mean, sometimes when you're working for publications and you have assignments and you're supposed to be there at 1 o'clock and your subject is giving you a 15-minute window, then
well, that's hard.
Which is fine. It's pressure. It's half the
part
fun.
of the job, eh?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just one of those things that you have to deal with, like the short notice and making that work.
So tell me about the kind of equipment that you had when you were a kid, and how has it changed, since then when you got into this professionally?
Well, first of all, film, 35mm Canon, and I've stuck with Canon pretty much all the way up. I think at one point, one of my first digital cameras was a Nikon with interchangeable lenses, like kind of a mini SLR, but not quite. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I just never was a big fan, and I went back to my love of Canon, and that's right now I have a Canon 5D, and looking to upgrade that relatively soon, but basically staying on that Canon line, and it's the body, good lenses. What'll make it work.
You do business with Nielsen and on Canon key camera?
I have gone there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's a good guy. Always very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. But what, mail order?
I use B&H Photo.
Doesn't everybody use
Yeah,
B&H?
For photo, video, anything you need. B&H.
Those guys are amazing.
Yeah, just make sure you got to watch the holiday schedule, because
they're always closed for the Jewish holidays.
Exactly, it's New York, so.
Have you been there?
Yes.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it's like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, that is just unbelievable.
There's no place in the world like that.
It's the Mecca.
It really is. So going back to the Canon for a minute, what is it about the Canon? And by the way, I want to disclose, I feel the same way about Canon.
Oh, very
Same
good
way,
then.
and I also have a 5D, right over there.
Ah, very nice.
And maybe you can show me how to do some of it.
I'd love to.
But so my question is, what is it about the Canon? What makes the Canon so soft and warm and forgiving and enticing and makes it the favorite that way?
To me, okay, for one, I really, really like the way that the body feels. But the interface is very, very easy to understand. And I've gotten quite used to it. Unfortunately, when I upgrade, they sort of manipulated the interface a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be kind of like a little bit of a learning curve again. Mm-hmm. But, that's fine. I'll take the upgrade. But
you like to be comfortable with it. You like to know every angle and every little trick and every button and
exactly
setting and whatnot.
Because with the camera I have now, I've gotten so used to it that I don't ever. There's no panic situations where, oh God, wait, how do I make this work, and breaking out a manual.
Right. You can't do that. Not if you're a professional.
Yeah, no, I'm like, wait, where's this? How do I change that?
That'd be awful.
Yeah, that
what
would
the
be.
Clients say?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what they would say. Like, you sure you do this for a living?
So what is it? I mean, the Nikon is also technically excellent.
Yeah,
we're talking about excellence either way.
I don't know. You put each camera in your hand and take a shot, and for some reason, and Yeah, the software has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
There's actually things about the Nikon that I wish Canon would adopt, but that's only like one thing. Because they have I have a passion for high dynamic range, which is several different exposures combined into one.
Those are incredible shots.
Yeah, so doing a lot of landscapes, and I've actually gotten into shooting people like that. And the only problem with the Canon is they only have basically a 3-shot burst. So it'll take one high, one low, and one in the middle.
Yeah.
And a Nikon will like rapid fire up to at least 9 frames.
It's all within a second or so.
Like just rattle
So
it
it
off.
doesn't. You can't. It's not that you can. If you move, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It catches it all.
The Nikon's quick enough to go ahead and actually take that, and the person, unless it's like somebody running, then you might have a problem.
Yeah.
But actually, these days with Photoshop software, the CS5 just put out this whole new HDR software inside of it that will allow you, say, if you took like 5 frames of a shoreline, and it's always going to be different as far as the the water. You can actually select the frame and say, okay, this is the one I want you to use, and then it uses everything else from all the other frames, but then it's smart enough to recognize the water.
That's dynamite.
Yeah, so I was pretty excited about
So you
that.
get the dynamic range, even if things are moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
But with Canon, you'll have to basically take a shot, go ahead and adjust, and take another shot, and then adjust, take another shot, and by that time, you're gonna have something move a lot of times, and you have what's called ghosting, where you'll have the same image and then the same image a little bit over.
Not so good.
Yeah, so it ends up being a lot of labor, but the result is just beautiful.
Those dynamic range.
Yeah, high dynamic range.
High dynamic range. They're incredible to look at.
Yeah.
It's like you can't believe the picture could be that good.
Well, when I explain it to people, I explain it like this is how your eye sees it. Because you could be, like, if you imagine yourself in like a tunnel, like arch tunnel, and you're walking through, you would still see your eye would still see the color of the walls and everything, as well as you would be able to see what's all the way out in front of you. Now, with high dynamic range, you would go ahead and expose those walls for their real color, and then take another frame exposing it all the way down the line till everything is taken perfectly, and then you smash them all together. Bang, you got a
picture to die for.
Exactly, something that you don't believe you're actually seeing.
So so do your clients come to you and say, Kevin, I need high dynamic range?
No.
On this? They don't know.
No, I haven't really. I'm still mastering the craft, so I don't really promote it as much. But sometimes I'll sneak it in there with assignments that I have. If I have if I'm to take a building or something like that, I'll go ahead and do that, and then I just won't say anything. They're like, wow, that's deep. Look at those clouds. I'm like,
do that?
That's right. But and same with a person. I'll give it a try, and if it works and it actually looks better than my single frame, then
Sure.
go ahead and throw it in there and see if they take it.
Sure. But they'd be more inclined because of the quality of the photograph. So do you think it's the future?
Not necessarily, because I think it's a style. It's a style, because a lot of people don't like to have that depth. I would say ultimately it's really used for like landscapes and architecture, because you'll be able to you see inside the shadows, and that's important with landscapes and that type of photography, which I do. I enjoy that a lot. I like taking my camera with me when I go to the beach on the weekend and going for a walk, or when I go hiking, lug that up and down a mountain. But it's satisfying. Yeah. So but that's a great thing when you can love what you do so much that you do it on your off time.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's like a busman's holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you worry about your camera?
Yeah, sometimes, but my body's taken a beating a couple times because
To protect the camera?
Yeah, I've fallen in the water in a what do you want to call it? Right in the shallows with the tide pools, going ahead and basically losing my balance on a rock and either falling down on my back in the
But
in the
holding
reef,
the camera away from the
yeah,
water.
exactly. Coming out with blood dripping down my arms, but my camera's dry and there's no damage sustained.
Well, the thing, it's partly the camera, but it's also your knowledge of the camera. So theoretically, you could go out and buy another 5D immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And be pretty much in the same place.
Yeah, but they're pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not. I would definitely. Yeah, definitely be able to pick up where I left off. But it's that I don't know. And I don't know. Personally, I've grown like a personal attachment to my own unit. I can use somebody else's camera. It's the same thing. It doesn't feel the same. It's
Even machines have personality.
Exactly. I agree.
So what about other equipment? I guess, well, you carry flash cards, but do you carry the big flash cards, or the little flash cards, the fast ones, or the slow ones?
I carry the faster ones,
Yeah.
because if I want to be able to shoot rapidly, don't want it to bog down.
Mhm.
But I generally like to stick at like 4 gig cards because you can buy up to like 16, 32.
Yeah, true.
But I've had those before. I actually, it was back in the day when they were micro drives. They weren't. You remember those things?
Yes.
And I was basically storing things on it, and then basically it failed,
and then you lose it.
Then I lost
Not a
it.
good idea.
So now, basically, over the years of having to deal with the digital equipment and finding its shortfalls and where things go wrong. These days I will take the shots, I'll import them onto my laptop. But before, it always prompts you to delete the photos. No, keep the photos. Go ahead and make sure I get everything I need, and then wipe it. Yeah. And just better safe than sorry, because I think every photographer has a story about where they're just that your heart goes in your stomach because you lost something.
Yeah,
or
it's more than just the job. It's your whole
your
whole way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
And certainly the client's way of looking at it.
Yeah, because you're only as good as your last picture.
And you're only as good as your ability to produce a job that you said you would produce.
Right. Yeah. You can't. Oh, I'm sorry. I gonna have to ask you to do this again.
Yeah,
That usually doesn't go over too well.
That happens in video.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's all right.
So what about lighting? You carry lighting around with you
Yes.
on these when you go and do an office shoot of an executive, for example?
Yeah.
What do you carry?
I usually carry the minimum of 2 strobes, 1600 watt, 800 watt, soft boxes.
That's a big thing to carry.
Yeah, well, I actually have a B&H.
Of course.
One that actually, because usually you have to attach all your things to a speed ring and open it up, but this actually, everything is attached to the speed ring already and it collapses within itself.
Cool.
So it saves tons of time, and especially like I was saying, when you're dealing with like 15-minute windows to get a job done, it's like you want to be able to bang, 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 and then get out of there and get out of their hair as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, I know they appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience with you anyway is you're in and out.
Yeah.
All business.
Like,
get it done.
Hey, you're a busy man, and it's got to look at it that way. I mean, for one, if you're taking a picture of somebody, there's got to be a level of importance to them, which means they work hard and they're busy people, and they don't have time to, jerk around. And the quicker you can get it done, and produce it, as long as you can produce a good result. I mean, if you rush through it and then it's terrible, you're not doing anybody
Well, tell me
any
about
justice.
post-production. So now you've come, you've analyzed, you've put your artist's eye, you've done your analysis of the environment, and you try to capture the essence of the individual and the situation, and now you take your camera and your flash card away.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to do before you make delivery?
My own personal routine is, I import into Aperture, Apple application, and
How does that compare with Photoshop?
Photoshop. This is a library storage applications, but you're able to go ahead and make adjustments through that. Basically, I actually just use it more so for my for the importing, and once
organization.
Yeah, exactly. Because iPhoto was the standard before for an Apple, but now they have Aperture, and it's just kind of like iPhoto on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring it in there, and it's just a good way to library and catalog your items and go ahead and do previews. And once I figure out which shots actually stand out to me, I'll export them to Lightroom. And from Lightroom, you pretty much can make all the adjustments you really need, and you essentially don't even really need Photoshop these days if you're versed with those applications.
So is Aperture something you could use for video too, or is it just
No, it's just photos.
And the same thing with Lightroom, just photos.
Yes.
I saw Lightroom when it first came out, and it seemed, what shall I say? It's like you could handle a lot of stuff at once with
Oh
it.
yeah.
And you could make the same kinds of changes to a whole bunch of pictures all at the same time.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you can basically save settings and apply them to an image. Because if you have like the same general scheme, like if, for example, I was doing a wedding yesterday, and there was areas where I was like, okay, consistently, these 20 shots, I needed to reduce some of the shadow. Go ahead and make that, basically a preset and an action, and repeat that action on photos, and you save a ton of
So
time.
you can actually save it like a macro
Yes,
and just apply it to every photo. And if you have a lot of photos that are the same, this is really
exactly.
a huge thing.
Yeah, if you're a sequence of events that you're basically dealing with the same lighting, and just the subject matter is just moving around but in the same area. It makes that just very easy on you.
So you've been using Lightroom since what, the beginning of
Since
Lightroom?
the first Lightroom came out, yes.
And you've been doing this for what, 6, 7, 10 years?
Professionally, on like 7, 8 years.
Wow. So how did you develop your business? Somebody was willing to pay you $1 to take a photo, and
Pretty
this was a
much.
magic moment.
Pretty much.
What happened then?
Well,
I'm asking because I like to compete with you.
Professionally,
I don't have any skill at all.
well, then I guess I have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
Let's see. Actually, the first time my first published photographs were done on a trade basis, because basically you just like anything, you have to introduce yourself and you let someone know what you're capable of doing. And when you're not published, you're other people's mercy, because they know they can work you. It's like the word intern or something.
It's leverage.
Yeah. So you go ahead and you do good work for them. You get published, and you take your trade, whether it's gift certificates from the restaurants that are advertising in the magazine, or they give you your own ad space. But
it's abusive.
Yes, it is. It is. It's not very profitable, but it's you gotta have your foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get some pictures on pages, then then you can shop yourself
Around a
around.
portfolio.
Exactly, and that's what I did with the publications in Hawaii. I took what I had, and I did professionally, and sat down with all the art directors, and it still took like 6-7 months to get my first assignment after that. But it was, once you got yourself inside the circle, you're in, unless you really screw something up.
Yeah. And you can live on it.
I'm sorry?
You can live on it.
Yeah.
You can make a living. You can actually do this.
Yes.
But I bet there aren't many professionals in Hawaii.
That actually, that's all they need to do. Actually, Hawaii is a fairly saturated market as far, when it comes down to like wedding photography.
Yeah.
And there's a lot out there that are just really unimpressive, but they have excellent connections.
Yeah.
They have,
With
they
the
have,
weddings, yeah.
Yeah, they have a wedding coordinator that's their best buddy, or maybe even a relative, and you're like, hey, he's cheap. He'll take care of you.
Yeah.
But as far as there's a cache of really good photographers in Hawaii that that you have the utmost respect for, and the work that they do, because a lot of times people be like, it's not that great, but you're like, wow, that's really good. The guy's like something to aspire to be.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me that in your situation, you've got to aspire to be better and better and better. You've got to have your special persona on every photograph so that they can see its excellence. And in that way, you become more in demand and presumably can command higher fees.
Right.
So isn't that the way it works? I mean, it's not like you're going to build an organization with 200 people.
Right. Because you want to retain your individuality. But yeah, the better you get, and you have to keep on sharpening your skill set. Then you end up finding larger scale clients. Like we're in Hawaii. If you get contacted by the mainland, like an ad agency out of Los Angeles, you know, that's actually a good stepping stone right there. I mean, because, you know, around here, you're pretty much stuck with, you know, what goes on in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. You know, I go on the web once in a while to get B-roll for videos,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and stock footage for
Yes.
videos, and there's really a proliferating number of websites where I can buy, you know, free. When I say free, I mean free of copyright limitations
Yeah,
and all that.
royalty free.
Royalty free photographs and video for that, man, and sound and music,
Yes.
sound effects, and you know, sometimes they're really bloody expensive. I mean, some of these photographs go for thousands of dollars for on the website. Some of them go for $10.
Yes. Exactly.
So I just wonder if there's a living there, where if you're good,
Yeah.
you know, you just keep on submitting them to these websites, command a high fee, and people like them and buy them, and you get presumably a fair part of that.
Yes.
And earn a living that way. People doing that?
Yes, they're absolutely doing that. It's something that I've actually been looking into doing. I've gone ahead, like with iStock Photo and Shutterstock. You have to go through, and they don't want jokers. They want people who can really provide commercially viable photography and video. So basically, you go through and you have to basically take a test initially, like a written test.
Wow.
To make sure you understand what's good, what's bad, and what they're looking for, and what you cannot submit to them. Because there's a lot of restrictions,
Yeah.
a lot of restrictions that go along with that. But once you get in there, you pretty much post photos at will, and
Or you just do it yourself?
yeah, you do it yourself.
Nobody's vetting it. You just put it in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or you submit it, and then unless
They vet it after the fact or something. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something you could very, very much make a living on. There's people that are on like iStock Photo, they yield like 15 grand a month. Because you figure, like, if you go to iStock and you look at what are the hot photographs, they have little flames next to them, and they show how many downloads, and they have different sizes, everything. But most of the times, because people want it for print as well as web, they need the higher resolution shots, so they're paying the premium price. Now you look when they say, okay, the most download of the month, and you see somebody with 15,000 downloads in 1 month, you get a piece of that. You get a good piece of that money. So it's a good check.
The power of the web strikes yet again.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
So
does.
if you're popular and a lot of people like you and rate you high,
Yeah,
you could make a fair living
absolutely.
without standing up. Well, you gotta go.
You gotta take the pictures, but yeah, you take the pictures, yeah, and you come home and you upload them, and basically wait for them to put a direct deposit into your account.
Yeah, but and that's nice and very efficient. But I'd still rather do what you do. I think you meet more people that way.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have a great reputation among the publishers in this town. So, good for you, Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. I enjoy working with people, and yeah, as long as that can keep on rolling, I'm happy to do that.
Kevin Blitz, thanks very much for coming
Thank you,
down.
Jay.
I'm really, it's great to be close to an artist.
Right. Thank you very much.
Aloha.